Hey guys, before we start this party, I want to give a shout out to our friends and sponsors, Live Nation Colorado and Fillmore Denver. As we look at the month ahead, as February starting up, we have concerts galore not only at the Fillmore Denver with Eli Young, Stone Temple Pilots, and more. We have Tyga. We have folks coming into the Pepsi Center. We got shows for days. So make sure that you're following along on social media at Fillmore Den, D-E-N, and at Live Nation, C-O. And make sure if you need tickets or want to see what the concert schedule looks like, go over to livenation.com. They have everything you'll need, and then they'll be able to give you updates on ticket costs for secondary markets and everything else under the sun. Without further ado, we want to get this party started. Thanks, RC, for joining us this week. Chris, we can't wait to have you back on the podcast next week. Thanks for everybody for tuning in.
The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got weed pots.
And now here's our episode brought to you by Live Nation, featuring R.C. Carter from Carter Country Meats, based out of Ten Sleep, Wyoming. And shout out to our friends over at Brudo, Kelly Whitaker, and the whole team. We appreciate y'all letting us party over here. Delicious happy hour specials. The bread's phenomenal. The service is great. I get the bread every time, so say that. But RC, we appreciate you joining us, brother. Thanks for coming down out of the mountains for us.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, we've had like 20 or 30 minutes of solid conversation just sitting here shooting the shit, and I probably should have been recording all that, so that's on me. But it's okay. So we can chop all this up. Anything you say that you don't want if you don't want in there, we can edit it out. Keep the mic around here. Won't be a problem. But yeah, so we're sitting here talking. You have like 44,000 wild acres based out of Ten Sleep, Wyoming. I'd love for you to give a little rundown of what your company is, what you and your brothers do.
Yep.
Do. And then I guess we all became friends because we were chopping up beef. But yeah, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
So, yeah, I'm a rancher from north central Wyoming, a little town called Ten Sleep. We're right in the Bighorn Mountains, and been, fourth generation rancher up there. And I don't know, it was like maybe 7 years ago, my brother and I, we started a beef company. And it's a pretty interesting story, we started out, my brother's a pro snowboarder, and so we started out, he knew some chefs, he had some chef buddies, and they're like, oh, you guys are cowboys, you have cows, like, let's eat one. And so I processed an animal and took it over to them, and they're like, this is awesome. Like, let's do some work. And so we're like, oh shit, this is going to be great. We're freaking starving, making $1,500 a month on the ranch. I'm like, this is easy money. So we, it's a handshake deal, and they didn't really know what they were getting into either. And we had the deal. It was like we're gonna roll through these animals. So like had them pretty well scheduled. So we get them. We go in. I buy these for a cooler. Have you ever seen like those shipping vessels that go on ships?
Yeah.
The offsite.
The big containers that people put human traffickers in. That's where
exactly.
You find a bunch of dead bodies
yep.
if you don't have any air.
Yep.
I know exactly what you're
If you're an immigrant, that's or if you're trying to get across, that's where you go.
Yep.
So I bought one of those, pulled it up on the place. We killed 80 head of cows and stuffed them in there and pulled the trigger. We're like, yeah, let's go. And turns out, like, we figured we were gonna, roll through these animals, and we end up in a pickle. It didn't turn out. They weren't moving them the way that they were, everybody agreed to. So it took us like 3 years to figure it out and work through those first 80 head. And, we didn't have any education in the beef industry.
So you kind of jumped right into it.
Just jumped in, yeah.
Blindly?
Yep. Yeah. Our dad, he financed us, so he's cool. And that's almost worse than a banker to have your old man, like $250,000. He's always on our butt. But we just
He just doesn't let you live it down. You'll feel it.
Yeah.
He's
like, hey, what about you selling any meat? And we're like, fucking trying, So.
Yeah, are you out there skiing? You need snowboarding? You need to be out there slinging more meat.
Yeah, we got to pay the old man back. So we, but it was the best thing that could have happened because, it really threw us into the fire and gave me an opportunity to just figure out what the hell are we doing. And we never defined ourselves as a company, so we just got out there and working through with these chefs in Jackson Hole and really figured out what they were doing. And just started to slowly but surely start moving some meat. And, fast forward 7 years and, here we are, and we've got a lot of people that really like our product. We've got our shit together and, starting to sling some beef.
Yeah, so y'all have done some pretty remarkable things. So we met because we slaughtered one of those gorgeous bastards, or y'all killed it and then brought it to us, and we all chopped it up.
Yeah.
Shout out to our boy Chef Amos and Nate the Butcher, and of course Chef Kelly, who we're back at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
But that was, it was fun to not only watch y'all kind of break that down, but it seems like y'all do not only have your shit together, y'all kind of have an operation in tow. So y'all have partnered, and for anyone that wants to find y'all, before we even get this interview started, if somebody wants to look more into your meat, they ship around the country.
Yep.
And all you have to do is go to CarterCountryMeats.com.
Yep.
And you can learn all about the shipping process and what are the options that are available. But y'all stuff, if you have a Yeti, y'all partnered with Yeti.
Yeah.
If you mail the Yeti to y'all, this is one of the coolest concepts which I'm fascinated with. You'll stuff it so that you don't have to use styrofoam boxes and all those things. So then you'll get humanely sourced beef in a repurposed packaging, shipped back and forth right to you. That's genius.
Yeah, we're just, it's like there's a lot of problems out there in the world today, and a lot of people want to talk about it, but I'm into fixing shit. And so when it came to the packaging, the styrofoam coolers, they suck. And so my younger brother, Mark, he's sponsored by Yeti through the snowboarding industry, and those guys are awesome, man. They're so cool. And so I hit him up, and I'm like, hey, we want to use your coolers as a sustainable shipping vessel. And, that's been working. We're, in fact, March 15th, we're going to launch we're going to relaunch so that we have a sustainable shipping, another vessel, which is using, it's actually the foam that we're using, the insulation in it is actually a corn-based. So it's a sustainable solution to it.
Styrofoam?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so that'll be kind of cool. And that'll get the price down because, we just, right now with the Yeti coolers, we just sell them at what, our cost. So you get them at wholesale. We fill them with meat. But, that's cool. But what I really see as being the future of food and what we want to do is, really start locally, probably more regionally sourcing beef, food, pork, vegetables, and locally delivering it.
So you're saying less reliance on places like Cisco and those other assholes, but more
for sure
get the meats from the local folks, because not only, and part of the environmental issue that we see today is the trafficking of the beef and things of that nature, because it does take those large vessels, like we mentioned earlier, to move that amount of meat and things of that nature. And so a lot of this pollution comes through if we start doing it in a regional economic way.
It's an interesting thing when people talk about beef, they just lump it all into the same category. It's you talk to some hicks and they're like, Muslims are bad, they're all terrorists or whatever. But it's it's different, there's some animals, it just depends on how you operate. And, it's like comparing apples to oranges. And I'm not completely down with the commodity norm, and there's this model popped up, and it's let's send all these animals back east and, to the Corn Belt and pump them full of, give them 25 pounds of corn a day and, some antibiotics. And, that's the norm. If you're eating beef in a grocery store, that's pretty much what you're eating. It's either that or it's, beef from Brazil. And, the way it is now, there's so much smoke and mirrors in the beef industry. Of everything that's on a plate, beef is probably the sketchiest because you just don't know.
Well, see, I actually read something interesting that plays into that as well, that the government recently had lightened the regulations or, loosened the regulations, so to speak,
Yeah.
for people that are handling pork and other products, so like with pigs. So expect more products to come out looking more like a hot dog product with like mixtures of other components in there,
Yeah.
rather than getting that true what you're actually trying to buy
Yeah.
product. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting that most of the shit we think we're buying is not in fact that.
Well, I mean,
Or
like
steroids shot up, like
we always come back to the way it used to be, and so like we're not introducing anything new. Like this is the way it used to be. People didn't always get food from grocery stores; they got it from their farmer or their rancher, and local and community driven producers. And that's what we see now is like I know a lot of different dudes in the industry that are saying one thing, saying grass-fed, grass-finished, no hormones, whatever. But it's bullshit because it all comes down to, an affidavit. And, I don't fault these farmers. Like if you're raising Roundup Ready corn, I don't fault any of them because like, let's look at it. I mean, we're all doing the same thing. We're all just trying to, make some money, be happy, have some time to do what we want to do. But it's not working in the agriculture world anymore. Like the farmers and ranchers, you basically have one option to sell your product, and that's into the commodity, as far as the masses of farmers and ranchers, you have one option that's sold into the commodity market. And their prices are so low that it's, we see it right now, like the average farmer and rancher is 60 years old. And, in these Western states and agriculture communities, like young people, they don't stick around. They bounce because, like, why would they stick around? They watch mom and dad starve their whole life and, barely get by. It's extremely stressful because there's no money in it. And it just sucks, so that's really what, we sell meat, but we're really driven to create a new model of, how beef can support the ranchers. And it's like us, we raise a lot of the beef that we sell, but, we get our beef from, our friends and our neighbors in the Bighorn Basin area because they're, it's not the cow that makes the cow good. It's the practices of raising that cow. And that's what we hang our hat on is like,
how y'all go about the process of growing or, engaging with that cow.
Because, protein's just protein. Like the flavor's in the fat. And, it depends on, and that's why we really, in our area, we've blessed with this awesome rangeland and, and it's, coming back to the part where, cows are bad for the environment, man. It's like, shit, cows are bad. If you're burning the rainforests, like right now I got on this kick and I was learning about this past summer, the Brazilian rainforest. They're torching that sucker like at an alarming rate. And they've been torching it for a while, but now it's at a way faster rate. And the thing that's driving that is beef production. And, and there's like 85,000 farmers, I think I read, or 85,000 fires down there this last year. And 90%, and this is like, these are all statistics that I read somewhere, whatever. Don't quote me on it. But 90% of what is being burned is directly going into beef production. And the majority of that beef is being sent to the United States. And the way that, the government did away with, USDA did away with country of origin labeling. So this stuff can enter the United States. They open the bag up, trim it up, and now they can stamp it a product of America. So you don't even know about it. But like those animals, like they're not good for the environment. But like the way we operate, our animals are out on grass. It's called nutrient cycling. So if you have some grass that's growing, if nothing eats it, it will take, it'll grow and then fall will come, it'll die and it'll lay on the ground. And I think it takes like, depending on the environment, 3 to 4 years for that grass to oxidize and go back into the soil. Whereas if a cow comes along and eats it, and then the hoof action plants seeds, and then it just like, it's so much quicker. And back in the day, there used to be 40 million buffalo roaming around. Like it's important. And like everybody wants to talk about like climate change and whatever. But I mean, whether you believe it or not, like, a lot of guys are looking for a silver bullet. Like, how do we how do we put carbon, what do we do with all this? Because it's off balance, right? We're pumping the oil from underneath the ground. We're running it through a motor, releasing it into the atmosphere, and nobody has a